Here's another organ key off a Hammond M3 organ. Fits many other models. This is the A key. Still got a bunch of these. Been selling them over the last couple of years for $3 a piece. It's kind of frustrating when you haven't had a sale for a day and you finally hear that cha-ching and it's just a $3 organ key, but it's a nice steady stream, and I've got plenty more of these to go. This is one of those retractable hanging lights for your kitchen over your table. You can adjust the height. It's got this little retractable cord in it, and it's very ornate. It's got a glass shade, but it is missing the diffuser, and I listed it and kept my eye out for a diffuser because I know it would sell for a lot more if it had that, but I never found one quite that big. It's rather large. This is made by Moe Lighting, M-O-E. I see a lot of Moe vintage lighting out there, and I was able to get $80 for this the way it is, though. This is the tail light assembly for a 74 to 78 Mustang II. It's pretty dirty, but the housing's intact, and that's the most important thing. This plastic really ages poorly if it's, say, a car that's subjected to a lot of heat down south. So, one advantage of having a northern climate is less heat. It does have a couple of surface cracks in the lenses, but I was still able to sell this for $50. The last of my CVS healing ointment went. This lot of 6. I've sold 3 lots of these. I got them in a auction box lot for a couple dollars. It also included a bunch of lip balm, and I was thinking at the time that that lip balm for $2 for all of that was pretty cheap. See if I can't sell the rest of it, and I've sold these 3 lots for $18 a piece, and these 6 went on Trugether. This was in a free box at a garage sale last fall. It's a Yamaha cluster, gauge cluster, and I knew what bike it was off of right away because I used to own one, a mid-70s Yamaha XS 500. Stared at this cluster for many an hour, and I don't know if it works, but it does have a good wiring harness, good mounting bolts, and good glass, and that was exactly the way it was listed, and it sold for $30. This is a vintage Bandag trucker style hat, mesh back, foam front. Bandag is a tire manufacturer. I always see their signs outside of tire dealers, this one being WW Tire Service. And it's in like new condition. It's made by Swingster, which also makes pretty fancy windbreakers. And I've had this forever. I bought it probably 2 years ago, thinking that it would sell right away, as it's a familiar logo. But proves you just got to stick with it, and they'll eventually sell. It'll come back in style, or certain teams all of a sudden become winning teams, and people want their fan wearable items. And this particular hat sold for $20. Just noticed that this hat is going to Australia. To use one of my new eBay branded boxes. It's a little bit big for it, but these are pretty lightweight. I think these are 10 by 8 by 6. They discontinued the 8 by 8 by 8, which worked really well. This is a Mustang Pony emblem, front end grill emblem of a 74 to 78 Mustang II. And I've had this up for, well, probably over a year now. And it finally sold, and it went to someone in Singapore for $25. Yesterday seemed to be a day for selling items that I've had in my inventory for a long time. Good to see them go. And yet another long tail item sold on Saturday. This is a pair of Bose 901. They're Series 1 speakers, which are fairly desirable in that they don't suffer from the surround rot on the individual speakers. Each one of these has 9 speakers inside. These Series 1 are also the walnut front. And I got them for $5 at a garage sale, but they didn't have the necessary EQ. This is the EQ unit that came with them when they were sold new. And without it, they just don't sound right. And they take a lot of placement orientation to get the sound just right because they are reflecting speakers. And this is actually the back side of the speaker, whereas the walnut front is the front of the speaker. And they're supposed to deflect the sound off the back wall, and they actually do sound very, very nice when they're set up properly. And so I had to buy this separately, but I ended up selling these for $400 on a best offer. These resistors are still selling. I sold 3 of them to one guy and another single this week, and they sell for $5 each. They're enameled true ohm resistors that I got at an auction. Just a couple of bucks for all these plus the ones I've already sold. This is a vintage Caliphone phonograph, typically used in classrooms. It's very high quality, and it's just a single speaker, and it has a microphone input. Kind of curious, they use the treble control for the volume on the microphone. I just happen to have this microphone, probably picked up years ago in a box lot or something, and it works fine with it. So I included that with it, and I did take it apart and re-lube the motor and look for anything else that needed work. Just some cobwebs had to clean out, and it does work very nice. And I priced it a lot higher than I've seen these go for, especially this particular model. They come in many different models, some without the microphone input. And so I priced it at $120. I bought it at an estate sale about 10 days ago for $8. So it didn't take too long at all to sell. I sold this set of vintage wicker chairs on Facebook Marketplace. And I acquired them a number of years ago at an auction for $20, but just never found a use for them. They're traditional hand woven from the 60s. Pretty good shape. And they sold for $125. This is a smaller Harman Kardon receiver amplifier from 1979. I've had this up for sale for well over a year now. I picked it up at a garage sale really cheap, maybe $15. And I had to do some cleaning and replace a couple of lamps, dial lamps. One thing I couldn't get fixed was the meter for the FM reception. And so I just listed it that way. And it finally sold on a best offer of $125. I'd gotten a few offers below $100 and I always came back at $150 or so, and then this just came out of the blue, $125, and after having it up for sale for so long, I took that. Another item sold on Facebook Marketplace. This is a vintage kitchen table and chairs. I got it free about 4 years ago and used it myself until last year and stored it in the basement. Sold it for $125, which seems to be the go-to price on Facebook. I've sold a number of items for that amount. Probably could have gone for more if I wanted to hold out, but it was just taking up a lot of room in the basement. Didn't take too long to sell this clock. I put a new cord on. It came in an auction box lot. Actually, the box had a different clock that I wanted, and I didn't even see this one in there. Turns out that other clock is not even repairable. Might have to just put a quartz movement in that other one to make it work, but this one worked fine, although the cord was all grungy and deteriorated. So I soldered in a new cord after taking it apart. And cute little kitchen clock, sold for $60.